Four corners. It's all in the soil. Barbara Gannett. Earth's soil. It might look like plain old dirt, but soil is much more than that. Earth's soil makes almost all life on land possible. It holds heat, water, and food for plants. It provides shelter and food for animals. People depend on soil for farming and food. Soil is made up of tiny pieces of rock. It also contains bits of dead plants and animals that have decayed. Millions of living things, such as bacteria and fungi, are also part of the soil. Try it out. What's in the soil? Take a handful of soil from your backyard or a park. Spread the soil out on paper. Look at the soil with a magnifying glass. What can you see? Roots? Dead leaves? Pebbles? Insects? Twigs? You might see all these things and more. List what you find. It might surprise you to see what's in the soil. How soil forms. Soil forms slowly. It can take more than 1,000 years to form even just a small amount. Most soil is a mixture of 4 different materials. Bits of broken rocks make up most of soil. Rocks are broken into smaller pieces by a process called weathering. Soil contains all sizes of rocks. Over time, weathering breaks apart the rocks. Soil also contains humus. Humus is made up of decaying parts of once living things. Water and air are also important parts of soil. They fill up the spaces between the pieces of rock and humus. What is humus? Tiny creatures live in the top part of soil. There are also pieces of rotting leaves and other dead plants and animals. Over time, bacteria and fungi will help decay these once living things into humus. Humus contains most of the nutrients that plants need to grow. You can see the erosion of fields along the banks of the River Severn in Gloucestershire, England. Wind and rain can carry soil to different places. This is called erosion. Erosion can harm farmland and pollute rivers and streams. Sometimes erosion happens very quickly. If there are no trees or grasses, soil can be washed or blown away very easily. Erosion happens more slowly where trees and grasses are planted. Their roots hold the soil in place. Soil layers. Soil forms in several different layers. These layers are all different. The look and feel of soil changes the deeper in the earth it is. The top layer, called topsoil, is made up of the smallest grains. Topsoil usually contains a lot of humus and nutrients. They give the soil its dark color. Plants grow well in this layer. The layer below the topsoil is called subsoil. This soil has larger grains. It does not contain as much humus as topsoil. It is also lighter in color. Subsoil has some nutrients because rain carries them down from the topsoil. Plants do not grow well here. The lowest layer is made up of a mix of pebbles and chunks of rocks. Plants do not grow well here either. At the bottom is solid rock called bedrock. Try it out. Separate the soil. Spoon some soil into a glass jar. Fill the jar with water. Put the lid on. Then shake. Let the mixture settle for a few days. What do you see? The rocks and sand should settle on the bottom. Humus will rise to the top. How does soil stack up? Topsoil. Many roots. Humus. Fine grains. Subsoil. Few roots. Not much humus. Large grains. Lowest layer. No roots. No humus. Many large rocks. Bedrock. Solid rock. Soil making begins here. Kinds of soil. Not all soils are the same. Sandy soil is loose. It is made up of tiny pieces of rock. Water drains through it quickly. Clay soil is much smoother. Water cannot drain through its fine grains easily. Silt contains medium-sized grains that are smaller than sand but bigger than clay grains. Loam is a mixture of clay, silt, and sand. It is good for growing plants. Try it out. Dig in. Collect different kinds of soil from the ground. You can also use potting mix bought from a nursery. Rub some soil between your fingers. How does it feel? Is it rough or smooth? Is it dry or wet? Is it like sand or clay? Try another sample to compare it with the other. Crops, such as lettuce, grow well in loam. Some plants can grow in any kind of soil. Other plants grow better in one kind of soil. Loam is usually the best soil for farming. It is rich in nutrients and holds water well. It also allows air to reach plants' roots. Clay soil has many nutrients. Even so, many plants do not grow well in it. Water and air cannot easily move through layers of clay. Plant roots cannot push through clay soil to find water. Sandy soil does not hold enough water or nutrients for many plants to grow well. Few plants can grow in the dry sandy soil of this desert in Jordan. Animals in the soil. Soil is not only a home for plants. Animals also make their home in the soil. These animals can be as large as a badger or they can be so small that they cannot be seen. Soil provides animals with food, warmth, and protection. Some animals, such as wombats, moles, and rabbits, dig under the soil to make their homes, or burrows. Smaller creatures, such as worms and insects, also live in the soil. Wombat. Mole. A mole's claws are perfect for digging. Moles dig long tunnels under fields and gardens. Badger. Animals help the soil just by living in it. As they move through the soil, they mix the layers. Water and air can pass through burrows to reach plants' roots. The water and air can also cause weathering to underground rocks. Soil dwellers that eat plants or other animals also help when they digest this food. They pass some of the nutrients from the food back into the soil in the form of waste. When these animals die, their remains decay and become humus. Earthworms, soil's best helpers. Earthworms are very important soil animals. Here is how they help the soil. Earthworms eat decaying plants and help break them down. They make tunnels that let water and air into the soil. These tunnels help water and air reach plant roots more easily. They mix up the soil layers. Earthworm. Soils and farming. Keeping soil healthy or making poor soil better has always been important to farmers. That is because it can take thousands of years to form enough good soil for farming. Farmers need to protect the soil they have. For years, farmers spread animal wastes on their land to return nutrients to the soil. Then, as farms grew larger, some farmers began to use manufactured fertilizers to enrich the soil. They also began using chemicals called pesticides to kill insects that ate crops. A small plane sprays pesticide onto a field of soybeans in Missouri, in the United States. Tiny insects called aphids are a ladybird's favorite food. Aphids. Ladybird. Now farmers know that certain pesticides can harm the soil. They are trying to find safer ways to protect their crops. Some farmers use ladybirds to control pests. Ladybirds eat other insects, but not plants. One ladybird can eat as many as 5,000 insects in its lifetime. Farmers have found ways to stop soil erosion. They change the crops they grow each year. They plant trees to block the wind. They plow in rows around hills instead of straight up and down. Farmers sometimes cut step-like terraces on steep slopes. Terracing these rice fields in Bali makes the best use of the land and helps stop soil erosion. Taking care of soil. Now that you know why soil is important, you may want to help take care of it. People can help the soil by adding compost to it. Compost is a mixture of dry things, such as dried leaves and grass, and moist things, such as fruit and vegetable scraps. When these are combined and allowed to decay, they become humus. Compost helps the soil, and that helps the earth. Try it out. Make your own humus. Collect dried materials, such as dried leaves, hedge clippings and grass cuttings. Gather the same amount of moist things, such as fruit and vegetable scraps and coffee grounds. Combine them in a special pile outdoors. This mixture is called compost. In 6 to 8 weeks, it will decay and become humus. Glossary. Bacteria. Microscopic animal life. Bedrock. The solid rock under the top layers of soil. Burrows. Holes or tunnels dug by animals. Clay. Fine grains of weathered rock. Decayed. To have broken down slowly. Erosion. The wearing away of rock or soil. Fungi. Organisms such as mildew and mold. Loam. A mixture of clay, silt and sand. Manufactured. Goods that are made in large amounts by machinery. Nutrients. Materials that plants and animals need to live and grow, food. Pesticides. Chemicals used to kill pests. Pollute. To add harmful substances. Silt. Soil made of medium-sized grains. Subsoil. The layer of soil below the topsoil. Topsoil. The top layer of soil. Weathering. The breaking down of rocks.